Financial inclusion, Nigeria's drive falls below 2012 level. Hope of MTN trading on Nigerian Stock Exchange this month is dashed. It is a new week and financial inclusion is in Nigeria hosts the 25th annual meetings of the continent's Export and Import Bank. Business Express is coming to you from our Abuja studios with me, Musa Abubakar. The Minister of State for Aviation, Senator Hadi Sirika, has disclosed that the proposed national airline for Nigeria will be unveiled before the end of the year. The minister, while receiving the outlined business case certificate of compliance from the Director General of the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission, Chidi Azua, said the presentation of the certificate of compliance was an official approval of the process through which the project has gone so far. The minister said the issue of national carrier for Nigeria is very close to the hearts of both the government and the people, which is the reason it has taken the option of a public-private partnership with the belief that it was the only way to deliver a national carrier that will stand the test of time.
There's also Freedom of Information Act established by National Assembly. You can request of us to give you any document or any paperwork which you can scrutinize and see whether we've done it transparently.
He doused the tension over fears that the national carrier will lead to death of other airlines operating in the country. The Central Bank of Nigeria has said financial inclusion in the country is now below the 2012 level as it fell to 58.4% in 2016. The CBN in a new report said financial inclusion rose from 53.7% in 2010 to 60.3% in 2012 and 60.5% in 2014. The CBN in a circular said, while some notable milestones have been achieved, overall financial exclusion rate stands at 41.6% based on the biennial access to financial services in Nigeria survey. CBN said it had been working with various stakeholders to review the strategy to evaluate progress, identify gaps, and develop a refreshed strategy document that will serve as a roadmap for implementation till 2020. In a related development, speakers at the 2018 National Insurance Conference in Abuja are saying for Nigeria to meet its targets of financial inclusion by the year 2020, regulatory bodies in the country must give approval for the launch of micro-insurance through mobile phones. Muplanda Kok was at the opening of the conference.
Statistics shows that 56% of adults in Nigeria are financially excluded. The good news, however, is that 60% of these adults have mobile phones, which is why key players in the insurance industry are focused on the need for the country to leverage on the huge population of mobile phone users to drive financial inclusion. Keynote speaker Mr. Jim Ovia said insurance is one of the primary solutions to break the circle of poverty in the country, and microfinance can add about 12.4% to the gross domestic product (GDP) by 2025.
Nigeria requires aggressive and strategic developmental efforts towards reaping the benefits of her abundant potentials. This has become an imperative rather than an option if ordinary Nigerians who have no access to financial services must be brought to the fold.
To position the insurance sector in Nigeria for global best practices, an amended code of ethics for the insurance industry was unveiled at the conference.
We are now done with the insurance conference, yet as we welcome Mohammed Kari, Insurance Commissioner, to talk more on the event. You're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you.
The conference is coming days after the Apex banks expressed concern over Nigeria's financial inclusion. Coincidentally, your team also has financial inclusion. Can you speak to us on that?
Yes, as a financial regulator in Nigeria, we are involved in the development. We were involved in the development of the financial inclusion strategy in 2012. And every sector of the financial services in Nigeria has a role to play and has some responsibilities to ensure that they meet their targets. As regulator of the insurance sector, we have from time to time issued policies and guidelines on how we can achieve financial inclusion and how we can achieve our targets. And every now and then we sit and review how far we have gone. So today is one of those days when we have a conference of the whole insurance sector to see how insurance have been able to deepen involvement of all sectors of the Nigerian population. And what products of financial inclusion, what policies we need to review so that we can be able to achieve better penetration.
Okay. There seemed to be a little, or what will I say, not much orientation about insurance. Can you paint a picture for us?
Well, insurance is basically a business where you transfer your risk to somebody else, and in the event of misfortune, you are compensated. At least you are brought back to the position you were just before the loss, which is called indemnity. It is not an all-encompassing cover that covers everything. It has its limitation. But traditionally, insurance has always catered for big business. And financial inclusion find out that the big segment of the Nigerian population have been excluded from finance for various reasons. Maybe lack of knowledge of the products available, lack of access to those services, or lack of appropriate products that will service them. So the strategy dictated that all sectors of the financial services should ensure that they introduce products and services that can be benefited by all, especially the low-income earners. And in our sector, we have developed certain areas on which we believe will benefit the excluded people. If you look at business, there are certain businesses that cannot be covered by the conventional products. Like we have small businesses like vulcanizer, for example, or a small truck pusher. Now, he will not be able to pay huge premium annually to cover his little business. And he may not be able to afford a premium of annual premium or monthly premium, or his sum assured is too small because of the kind of business he does. So we as regulators have developed guidelines that enable micro-insurance products to be sold to such a business person, and he can pay his premium in installments. And he needs protection more than the big businessman, because the big businessman has access to finance. He can always get funding if he has suffered some misfortune. But the small businessman needs somewhere to save and needs somewhere to protect his assets from misfortune. So that is why we provide that. And then there is another class who hitherto have not been provided for, whose maybe beliefs or culture has stopped them from partaking into the conventional classes of insurance. For example, there is the Takaful insurance business, which is Islamic Sharia compliant, because there are people that believe that Islam stops them from taking conventional insurance because of the gambling aspect of it. Now we have registered some Takaful companies to provide that kind of cover, and we have also registered some micro-insurance companies to provide that cover for the micro classes.
Okay, for the vulcanizer, as you gave example.
Yes.
What do they need to know about this micro insurance?
First of all, they need to be aware that such product exists. and they can provide those cover. From the microfinance banks operation and the microfunding and the SME funding provided by government, insurance is always required as one of the requirements to be able to access such facility. And hitherto, the products were not available. Now the product is available, that we can provide assurance to the financial institution that if you give them the facility and the event anything happen to them or to the assets of the business, insurance will be there to provide compensation, so there will be continuity. And that gives added assurance and security to the financial institutions.
Okay, financial inclusion is targeted towards breaching the inequality gap. Can you say there is hope that the 2020 target will be met from insurance point of view?
We believe so. We believe so. The target set on the insurance industry was to reduce the exclusion from about 46% of the population to about 20% by the year 2020. We are in the process of assessing where we are now, but I believe we'll be able to achieve that 20% or even better it.
Okay, what's the industry doing to find a way out? The low level of insurance penetration in the country?
We have come together as an industry. All the players of the industry have contributed funds, and from the 1st of June have started a campaign of awareness to tell people about insurance products, not the products, individual products or the companies, but the benefit of insurance itself. And I believe that will go in a long way in educating the Nigerian population. And the media of transmission includes all print, electronic, and so on and so forth. And I'm sure by the end of this month, you will see all the billboards around. The television stations have already started covering it. The radio stations are covering it. And we're doing also, among part of the program, we're doing road shows in community, especially in rural areas, to be able to educate them about the benefits of insurance and the availability. And as a regulator too, we have introduced policies where companies will reach out and locate where their services will be needed in rural areas. Despite the availability of technology today, we believe being present on the ground will help.
Okay. With growing incidents, both man-made and natural, what is the role of insurance in easing the burden occasioned by losses?
Well, insurance provides, first of all, comfort to the owner of the asset or who want to protect his liability, that the event of a misfortune, at least he wouldn't have to delve into his capital to provide for that misfortune, be it a destruction of his asset, be it an incurring of some liability. Insurance is there to provide cover. And for public assets, for example, government has a responsibility to ensure that public assets are protected, because since the recession, now we're coming out of it. Government doesn't have unlimited funding. And if anything happens, government shouldn't go back into a new capital or new funds to provide for the loss. Insurance can cover that adequately. We hear cases of collapsed building. We hear cases of natural disasters. This can all be insured. So if government and individual consumers will wake up to their responsibility, they will take up appropriate insurances. There are certain classes that are made compulsory by law, and those are adequately provided in our literature.
Okay, now let's pause and now let's join Muhammad Ali at the Hilton venue of the Insurance Week to bring us up to speed from that end.
All experts in the insurance industry are gathered here for the 2018 conference on insurance, and I have with me here the chairman of the Nigerian Insurance Association, Mr. Tope Smart, who is going to talk to us briefly. Mr. Tope Smart, it's a pleasure having you on Business Express.
Thank you very much.
Now, let us start with the theme of this particular 2018 conference: insurance industry and financial inclusion. What does this theme intend to achieve?
The intention is to increase the level of insurance in terms of financial inclusion. When we talk about financial inclusion, to increase insurance in the area of financial inclusion. And the essence is to reach the unreached. We discovered that insurance is concentrated mostly in cities, in towns, and then you leave out the villagers. You leave out people who are outside all these areas. So the intention is actually to bring insurance to the doorstep of all these people.
Now you have who is who in the insurance industry here. How is this going to help you to achieve that? What are you discussing? What are you going to tell yourselves to in order to see that the ordinary person benefits from what you are doing here?
Yeah, that's why we have gathered here, to look at strategies that will make us to reach all these unreached people. One of the things we have talked about today is digital technology. We have equally looked at the issue of awareness, that most people are they are not aware, of the services and benefits of insurance. And then we are trying to increase our awareness. And then we have talked about how to simplify even our policy documents to ensure that the layman in the village, understands, what we are presenting to that person.
Well, I can say maybe the theme is coming at the right time, because barely 24 hours, the central bank released that we have gone back a little in our financial inclusion against the 2012 data. How will you now use this particular forum to see that you improve on that, so that Nigeria can reduce it from the 46% in 2010 to barely about 20%? That is the target of the Nigeria as a country by 2020.
Yeah, like I said, we want to create awareness, and we'll now set targets for ourselves. We'll now prepare a roadmap, on how to increase this penetration. Don't forget that insurance penetration in Nigeria itself is very low. And one of the things we want to do is to increase penetration. Through this financial inclusion, then definitely the penetration level will be higher. And at the end of the day, insurance contribution to GDP will be much more than what it is.
How optimistic are you about the achievement of this target you have set for yourself?
We are quite optimistic that this thing, is going to be realized, because the strategy is not going to end here. After this seminar, we'll go back and then we'll set up committees to ensure that at least we deliver on this.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tokwe. The Insurance Association of Nigeria is going to set committee to see that it delivers on its deliberations here and the outcome of this conference, so that the Nigerian economy will be the better for this. That's the situation here. Over to you in the studio, Musa.
Okay, thank you, Muhammad Ali. Okay, back to what are we likely to see after the conference?
Well, I think you're going to see more awareness events. You're going to see new products released that will cater for that segment. Well, something we have done which is yet to be appreciated by the consumers, because of the information is still not out there, is we have simplified the policy document. There has always been a complaint that insurance policy is a complex contract. We have simplified it. Okay. And we have made it in a way that you can take a small class of insurance and pay your money instantly. And we have the condition that when you have a loss, claims will be paid within 48 hours. So these little incentives we have laid there will reassure the insurance public, especially the excluded financially, to know that they are covered. And this is products and policies that is within their understanding, and which will provide the basic cover to their businesses and to their lives. And it will encourage, in our opinion, savings also, because you can take small life insurance policies, which you can utilize as you need them. They are not necessarily covering only death. They can be an investment. You realize a fund when you reach a particular time. And one product we found, which Nigerians really need, which has done very well in some parts of Africa, is, for example, the funeral insurance. Most Nigerians find it very difficult to bury their loved ones when the misfortune of death occurs. But you can insure against that now. When you suffer that kind of loss, insurance can pay for the expenses of funeral, among other things. Okay.
Okay, the association said they are going to follow up with a committee after the conference. What would the regulator do then?
We work together with the market. Other than the Insurance Association, whose chairman you interviewed, we have other market associations. We have the intermediaries agents. We have the brokers. They have their own association. We have the loss adjusters. We work together under what we call the International Insurance Consultative Committee, IICC, which auspice we're using today for this conference. We have standing committees in the market that have specialist area of research, and they're going to look at this thing to see how we can review our guidelines to make it easier for us to reach the unreached.
Okay, thank you very much, Mohammed Kari, Insurance Commissioner. Thank you very much. for your
My
contribution.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Oil prices edge up in early trade Monday as investors eye tight market. Let's see how commodities are faring around the world. The Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) says MTN Nigeria is yet to file its application for an initial public offering (IPO). This is coming after a much anticipated share listing that could value the business at around $5 billion and help revitalize the local stock market. The Securities and Exchange Commission's statement after a daily publication reported on Thursday that the telecoms giant was ready for its shares to be listed. It added that the firm also needs to convert itself from a private to a public company before it can then sell its shares. At the moment, MTN Nigeria is private, meaning it has less than 50 shareholders. SEC stated that there had been no request by the company or its advisors for any form of regulatory review. A pre-IPO documents showed that the telecoms firm planned to debut by July and raise at least $400 million to cut debt for its Nigeria unit, valued at $5.23 billion. The Nigerian Stock Exchange (NSE) has suspended trading on 7 insurance stocks and RT Briscoe for failure to submit 2017 audit accounts and statements. The exchange, in a notice to dealing members, listed the insurance firms to include African Alliance Insurance, Cornerstone Insurance, Royal Exchange, Starco Insurance, Standard Alliance Insurance, Universal Insurance Company, and Veritas Capital Assurance. The development, which is aimed at enforcing rules and ensuring compliance, is also coming after many companies on the bourse have faced similar fate. The suspension of trading in the shares of the affected companies took effect July 5th, 2018 until the company submit the relevant accounts, which must duly comply with all applicable rules of the exchange. Data from the Nigerian Stock Exchange reveal a negative week. Let's join Bosede Abel for a review of the market.
A total turnover of 1.8 billion shares worth 16.5 billion naira in 18,941 deals were traded in the week ended Friday, 6 July by investors on the floor of the exchange. The NSE All-Share Index and market capitalization depreciated by 1.71% to close the week at 37,625.59 and 13.6 trillion naira. All other indices finished lower, with the exception of the NSE Insurance Index that appreciated by 0.53%. The financial services industry led the activity chart with 1.018 billion shares valued at 10.9 billion naira traded in 10,092 deals. The services industry followed with 313.4 billion shares worth 1.8 billion naira in 782 deals. The third place was occupied by natural resources industry with a turnover of 304.9 million shares worth 61.3 million naira in 82 deals. Trading in the top 3 equities, United Bank for Africa PLC, Multiverse Mining and Exploration PLC, and Nigerian Aviation Handling Company PLC jointly accounted for 912.3 million shares worth 5.3 billion naira in 1,025 deals. Exchange traded products ETPs also traded during the week were 25,220, valued at 454,438.90, executed in 4 deals. A total of 2,359 units of federal government bonds valued at 2.1 million naira were traded during the week in 24 deals. 27 equities appreciated in price, 45 equities depreciated, while 97 equities remained unchanged.
Well, that's how much we can take on Business Express. Keep a date with us on Wednesday for another edition. I am Musa Abubakar.